Hey there everyone, it's Garrett. Today we're going to be talking about one of the greatest forces on Earth. Is it earthquakes, hurricanes, hitting the like button and subscribe button down below? Nope, it's none of those. Today we're going to be talking about the powers of compound interest and how it practically prints money straight out of the air. But before we go into that, we need to go over a few key terms so you can keep up with everything I talk about. Now, the first key term we're going to talk about is principal. Principal is the initial sum of money that you place into an investment regardless of any earnings or interest you earn. An example of this would be opening up a retirement account or any kind of account such as a Roth IRA and placing some money into it. That initial money that you put into it is your principal. Next up is interest, which is what you earn after your initial investment on top of that. So on top of your principal, when your principal earns money, that is your interest. Now, interest is usually shown as a percentage known as interest rate. So the S&P 500, for example, usually grows at 7 to 8% per year. So that 7 to 8% is the interest rate that is earned on top of your money. Now, it is important, though, to distinguish that there are two separate types of interest that we can calculate. The first and easiest to calculate of the two, which is pretty simple, is, simple interest. Simple interest is when you calculate the interest that was earned on your principal, and that's it. Just the interest from the principal. So for example, if we have, say, $1,000 that's earned 10% interest per year, then we're earning $100 per year. Now, if it were 2 years, then we would earn $200. 3 years, $300, and so on. So the main takeaway from this is you're earning the same amount every year if your principal doesn't change and the interest rate doesn't change. And you're not earning interest off the interest you earned from the prior year, which is where compound interest comes into play. After the first year of compound interest, compared to simple interest, you're going to see the same numbers. This is because compound interest takes advantage of interest on top of interest. And since that's our initial amount of investment, our principal, then there's no interest already there, so the numbers are the same. However, after the first year is where it starts to get interesting. So to illustrate this example, we're going to go into an online calculator that shows compound interest. There are many of these online that you can find if you just Google compound interest calculator. However, I will include in the description of this video the one that I am using. So right here, we are on investor.gov from the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, aka the SEC. On here, we are able to just plug in our numbers instead of having to use a complex formula that we normally would not be able to use very quickly without the use of a calculator, as well as the fact that we also get a graph from this, which we would have to somehow calculate probably through Excel. Investor.com breaks everything down in steps for you. So our first step is our initial investment. This would be such as our principal. In our example, we're going to use $40,000 a year as the base income for the hypothetical person that we're going to do this for. And we're going to assume that they invest 15% of their savings each month. With an initial investment, we're going to start with zero. We're going to say that they're 18 years old and they have not invested anything yet. So if you haven't invested anything yet, this would be similar to what you may have. Now we're going to use that $40,000 at a monthly contribution of 15% to figure out that we're going to need $500 to contribute each month. So in time of years, we plan to invest for retirement. So in this case, we expect to invest, if we're starting at 18 years old, for at least 41 and a half years. The reason for this is the first available chance that you have to get this money out of your retirement account without any penalty is at the age of 59 and a half. We get this from 59 and a half minus 18, which equals 41.5 years. With Investor.com, they give you an estimated interest rate and a little bit of a variance range. So if we picked 8%, and we give it plus 2 minus 2, which is our variance range, if we make that 2, then it'll also show us on the graph it generates 8%, 10%, as well as 6% if our investments aren't as good as we think they'll be. But 8 is the one we're going to focus on. The compound interest, for our example, is annually, like it will be if we use any other kind of stock range. Now we calculate, and it tells us in 41 and a half years, you will have $1.6 million. So someone with a $40,000 salary, just a base average salary in the United States, they were able to, by saving $500 a month, which was 15% of their paycheck, each month will get them $1.6 million. which I would say is pretty good for anyone. As you can see on the graph, it shows each little data point over all the years. You can look at each one, though our main goal and objective is the final, because we can't touch this money from point A all the way to the end without there being some kind of penalty, unless we wait till that 59.5 age, which is when we can take it out tax-free for using a Roth IRA, so that this 1.6 million will be completely tax-free. And with our variance ranges, we can see maybe if it didn't perform as well as we thought, our investments, we still almost have $1 million. And if it does better, let's say at 10%, then we're getting almost $3 million. That is crazy, the amount of difference there is between the percentage. And you can see it all comes here at the end, how it slowly creeps up, gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And look at that gap between our projected to the highest end and even to the lowest end. So just a few percentage points can really alter your investments. For everyone watching this video, I have 3 tips for you. 3 tips to show you the best ways to take advantage of compound interest. The first of which is to invest in safe but effective funds and or stocks. Ideally, you'll be doing most of your investing in retirement accounts, or also known as tax advantage accounts. The reason for this, as you may guess, is because they have tax benefits. By using retirement accounts, you'll often be able to pay less taxes legally, perfectly legally, which I don't know about you, but sounds great to me. Nobody likes paying more taxes than they have to. Now, the investments within these accounts that you choose, whatever account you choose, you'll have to decide what you want inside it. Personally, for me, with retirement accounts, I prefer to make it safe. So I invest in index funds, which you think safe, you might think there might not be great returns. The returns are actually pretty good. Index funds have accumulation of sometimes thousands of different companies within them, within one thing that you have to purchase. So instead of having to purchase a bunch of things at once, you get them all in one single thing that you have to buy, and this thing is an index fund. Now, you may have heard of him. One of the greatest investors in the world is Warren Buffett of Berkshire Hathaway. He's one of the richest men in the world, and his personal advice for his family and others is that you should invest in index funds over any other kind of mutual fund or individual stocks that you choose. These index funds usually grow with the stock market. Some of the most popular ones, such as VTSAX, which I have a video in the comment section down below, it tracks the entire stock market of the United States. So it has all of the top companies and even some of the more mid-tier and smaller cap companies. And pretty much as the economy does good in the United States, the stock rises. As it falls, it goes down. But over time, over decades and decades of information gathered, people have found out that the stock market usually goes up around 7 to 8% per year. And that's a conservative figure. Sometimes it even grows up more, closer to 10%. And these percentages I'm talking about, these are your interest rate. My next tip is to keep investing. Don't be one and done. Don't just put money in and never think about it again. There are some situations where this is fine, but in our situation where we're thinking about retirement investing, we're going to want to keep adding to this, ideally monthly at least. So maybe you can do it annually as well, but I prefer monthly. By continuing to put more and more money into your retirement account or whatever account you choose each month, you're going to have more money to earn more interest, to compound even more and more and have that snowball effect really get going. If you don't do this, your results aren't going to be as impressive as you might have thought they would be. However, with that said, the most important tip, the most important thing I want you guys to take away from this video is this next tip right here. And tip number 3 is to start now. This is the biggest takeaway I want you to get from this video, as it is the most important. You could have heard everything else I said, and if you don't do this starting now, it'll mean nothing. When it comes to investing in compound interest, time is your best friend, and you want to start early. The more time that you spend in an investment because of compound interest, it will be worth more way down later on the line than when you initially put the money in. And the more time it's in there, the greater the results will be. If you're worried that you haven't started investing and maybe too much time's went by, stop. You can still start now. One of my personal favorite quotes is, "The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is now." And that's so true when it comes to investing. Even if you've maybe missed out some prime years, if you don't start at all, that tree's never going to get planted. Do it now or you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Or just YOLO it on GameStop. You can do that too. If you enjoyed this video and want to help me out on the road to 10 subscribers, you can get on the ground floor of this right now by hitting the subscribe button down below, and hitting the like button won't hurt either. Other than that, I hope you learned something in this video, and I'll see you in the next one.